Video editing is the process of editing small segments of a motion picture in order to finally put them together to create a small or large scale production. Things like sound effects and voice recordings are usually added in the post-production process. These two chaps, known as the Lumiere brothers, were, believe it or not, the first two filmmakers in history. The film you're seeing now is called The Arrival of a Train at La Clotet Station. This happened to be the Lumiere brothers' first film ever produced. They even used their very own cinematograph to film the sequence. And I know what you're saying, but Brandon, what exactly is a cinematograph? Well, to cut a long story short, the cinematograph is basically an all-in-one camera, which also can be used as a printer and a film projector. Thomas Edison, another stand-up guy when it came to revolutionizing the film industry. He was one of the many who influenced film drastically to make it the enjoyable experience that it is today. The invention that made film what it is today is called a motion picture camera. The basis for this device would technically be the same as a camera. However, it would take 24 still images a second, which would continue to be the gold standard in Hollywood today. The idea of having 24 still images a second for motion picture has become a widely accepted fad, but modern filmmakers like Peter Jackson are constantly trying to push the boundaries of the movie-going experience to create something even more enjoyable. A perfect example of this particular director's efforts to change the experience were, however, quite controversial. Peter Jackson decided to tackle the current 1080p 60 frames per second goal that applies to most current video game titles in order to create the optimal gaming experience. However, when he decided to change the frame rate from 24 to 60, many complained that they felt motion sick. Because of this, most modern films seem to have dismissed Peter Jackson's attempt and continue to produce their own films by the worldwide standard, that is 24 FPS. George Méliès is most famous for his vanishing lady trick. At the time, this may have been perceived as magic, but in reality it was just a simple editing technique called the substitution splice. This allowed George Méliès the ability to perform such a trick. The substitution splice is in fact a cinematic special effect in which an appearance, disappearance or transformation like this is created using a simple cut. There are many different editing techniques. A personal favourite would have to be the montage technique. This is used spectacularly well in the Rocky franchise. A montage is meant to show a passing of time to make it effective. This allows the viewer to remain engaged throughout the main character's development, while making his long drawn-out training sequences seem relevant to the film. Notice how we see Rocky and his opponent train at the same time. This shows the viewer Rocky's motive to train, and allows the viewer to connect to the hero. Montages like this tend to use one continuous track of audio instead of multiple dialogues. This allows the viewer to focus on the training of Rocky while feeling emotionally connected to the cast of characters. Another editing technique would be a transition, commonly known as a wipe. The franchise which has relied heavily on the use of these wipes would be Star Wars. This seems to be the franchise's go-to transition. It went so far that these wipes became part of Star Wars. Whether that was George Lucas's original intention or not, it is surely the case now.